It was so weird because when this movie, the trailer came out and talked about the movie, I was like, it sounds so familiar. Like, why does this movie, Eric Sloan, Kirk Sloan, like why? The premise, I was like, why does it sound so familiar? It's a reboot from the 80s. But in the reboot, Van Damme was Kirk Sloan. Hello, children. So, Kickboxer, Vengeance. At least with this movie, you don't have to worry about a baby washing ashore and the aunt coming. Anyway, so this one is Kickboxer, Vengeance, and this is the story of Kirk Sloan and Eric Sloan. Eric's the older brother. Eric goes to a Muay Thai battle in Thailand to fight Tong Po, and his brother ends up avenging him. So his brother is Kirk, he's the younger brother. Kurt ends up going to train with Master Durant, and I remember this one from the 80s, and I remember Van Damme was the lead back then, and he was avenging his brother, and it's a really, I really like this reboot. I thought it was, it's beautiful, it's shot, it's gorgeous. You know, most of it's in Thailand. They actually went to Thailand to shoot. If too you're into, I would say, like the fundamentals of fighting, and if you're into just like working out a certain way and like the training scenes, because as someone that's trying very hard to get abs, just the way they're working out and just watching like their form when they're training. First of all, I'm envious because of the way, you know, the way they're so great at doing push-ups and like how strong they are versus how not strong I am. But it's really fun to watch, especially if you're into working out, and especially if you're just into like a lot of the fight movies. Just watching form, I find just to be genuinely entertaining. I guess you could parallel it to, I mean, I know someone's gonna parallel it to The Karate Kid, and it really isn't, but I know someone's gonna make that stupid parallel. I mean, it is and it isn't, but it really isn't. This is just a really solid reboot of a really good fight movie. I enjoyed the 80s version. I remember when I was a little kid watching it with my dad. I wish he was here for this version, but I enjoyed it for him. And just Van Damme. Let's just talk about Van Damme for a second. Van Damme, like, I'm sorry, but he hasn't missed a beat with this movie. He, like, I don't know, when you think about like the fundamentals of fighting, I kind of think of him. And when you think of like the craft of fighting, you kind of think of him. And he delivers on both in this movie. And if anything, he's made my form better. But the whole movie made me want to work out even harder, if that makes any sense. But he was true Van Damme in this movie. And I think a lot of people are going to say it's a cheesy reboot, but those weren't there. I just think they weren't there for the original Van Damme movies. They didn't grow up with it, so they don't get like really a chance to appreciate it. Because a lot of you now, like, no offense, but you're growing up in the age where everything is, you know, $300 million CGI. Like, okay, you know, like, you know, expand your eyes. And there are other movies out there too. Gina Carano is in it. Can we talk about her for a second? She should have been Wonder Woman. I don't care what anybody says. I think I made a video on it. But for me, she's Wonder Woman. Her, like, just her fight, her form, her athleticism. I would have liked a little bit more of her in this movie, but it's, you know, it's really not her movie, so that's fine. But I enjoyed, you know, just having her for the amount of time I did. But again, and even with her, it just felt like, oh, look, another fundamentals of fighting person. You know what I mean? So you have her in it. And the lead. Then Alan Moosey as Kurt Sloan. I remember he's not the new Van Damme, but he's taking over for Van Damme's role, and he did a good job because he was really kind of like, I really saw him as like the mouse who, you know, is out to avenge his brother, and he kind of gave you, you know, that mouse, you know, getting, you know, growing into, you know, the rat he needs to be to take on this dude. And David Bautista, you know, you need to be scared. It's just like, you know, a Rocky movie, you know, against the Russian. You gotta be scared of the enemy. And I watch every sport. Growing up, I watched a lot more boxing than UFC. We didn't have UFC when I was really little, so I grew up with boxing. I don't watch enough UFC, but I'll tell you that this makes me want to. But David Bautista is, he again, I wanted to work out more, so if I have to go to Thailand to fight somebody, I can against him. But he gave off, you know, like that wall you have to break through to be the greatest. So he gave good villain, really is what it is. And I guess I enjoyed this movie. I had a good time with it. It's, a lot of people are gonna say it's cheesy. A lot of people are gonna say it's generic. Not really. I think if you came from the original, if you saw the original and you remember Van Damme growing up, you'll want to see this movie. And I'll say this, it's shot. It's so gorgeous. And I'm just saying, you know, coming off like 80s cameras versus like the HD and the editing we have now, it's just so beautiful. And even like the dark, you know, fighting scenes in this movie, it's just gorgeous. Oh, and just the way they crafted the fighting. Oh, it's just, it really is that good. So who's going to see this movie? It's geared towards the male demographic. I'd say probably like 18 to 26, but it's also going to hit the male demographic a little older, especially if you grew up in the 80s and you know you're there for the original and you remember Van Damme. You'll probably want to see this one. So yeah, I think that's what it's skewed for. On a scale of 1 to 5 Duffies, I'm gonna go with a solid 4. I'm gonna go with a 4. I'm gonna go with a strong 4 for nostalgia, and the acting was good. I mean, there's only so far you can go with the writing because it's really, you know, it's one of those movies, but because remember it's a reboot. But it was good writing, good acting, and just well choreographed fighting, which really, I think the fight scenes are stupendous, but the training scenes too. I'm a person that comes from fundamentals. I like to look at how we get there, and I really enjoyed that. So yeah, so I think if you grew up with it, and I think if you're just into like, if you want like a solid fight movie, you'll like this one. But definitely if you grew up with Van Damme, and definitely if you saw the 80s version and you came from that era, you're definitely gonna be like, you kind of want to watch it. But yeah, so I enjoyed it. It was a good ride. It was a good ride. All right, you guys, that's it. So let me know what you're gonna think of this one. Let me know if you're gonna go see it. Let me know when you see it what you think. So let me know if you're interested in this one and where you fall on yay or nay, pro Van Damme or not. All right, you guys, got the greatest show on earth. Live long and prosper. Talk to you guys later. Bye.